Great. Yeah, guys, I know I tried to put out an agenda, but it seems like Bonnie pretty much put it out there. That we go through all of the budget. I guess I don't want to say line item, but we really do. Looking at the backup budget and questions and talk about it. I feel it's a little redundant, but because we did it, those of us that were at the big budget meeting. But I guess that's where we start. Is that what we've done traditionally, Bonnie?
Yeah, that's what we've done. And how many of us attended that bigger work session? Jerry, you sat in, right?
On the other meeting we had, I was online. Some people were there in person. Is that the one you're about?
So it's where we usually start. You know, and we can go quickly. It doesn't have to be, you know.
If nothing else going through, it gives us line items that we might want to dig into further, and some will be obvious that we can say we're comfortable with these.
It's probably a good way to find the topic. Probably a good way to find the topics that we're going to want to discuss further, probably.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, should we jump right into the budget? And it starts at 1,100 regular education. Is that correct?
Yep. Are you doing the backup or are you doing the full budget? Are you doing the backup?
I kind of have both in my hand. That's how I work.
All right.
Because I mean, we should go through the backup, obviously, but the regular education, right, is 3.6.
Yeah.
Difference to 32,000, and I thought, you know, does anybody have anything they want to talk about, or there's some things that we want to go through and look at?
Well, you know, I'm wondering, you know, we have a whole bunch of philosophical things we want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know whether we want to mix those in with just the straight budget, or whether as they come up, like the line items for education, you know, for teachers' salaries and stuff. Do we want to talk about the sizes of the classes and the student teacher ratios and
Absolutely.
And the thought that maybe we have too many teachers, we got all that backup. I copied it all off. I don't know how many of you succeeded in getting the 98 pages copied, but
I got to tell you, and I appreciate Jim. Jim had gone and looked into things, and he was saying how we're spending $25,000 per student. I went through the numbers, and we're actually spending $30,322.36 per student.
yeah, that's about what it is. Seriously,
That's way too much.
I agree. And I don't know. I'm not sure. Whoops, I've lost my visual here. I'm not sure how that all works. I know there's teacher negotiations, and I know, let's just say we as a budget committee said, wow, we got 6 teachers too many, or whatever we come up with, given the ratios and stuff. All right, so.
I mean, I can throw one number just from one of the sheets they sent. If we had the same student to teacher ratio this coming year as they had in the first year of the 10 years that they showed, we'd have 9 fewer teachers.
9 fewer, okay.
So, and we'd have the same ratio we had 10 years ago. I'm not exactly, you know, sure what, you know, having not been part of it, I don't know what the priorities are of the school, whether, you know, there's factors that we don't know about. You know, my personal concern is that, you know, due to this state Supreme Court ruling, we're not going to be able to get away with this for very long. And there's going to be limits on how much the formula out of the state committee was there's a certain amount per school, and if you want to have up to 20% more from local tax, you can do that, but that's your limit.
Yeah,
That's going to be a whole lot less than this. Now, what comes out of the legislature could be entirely different from that, but they're working on it. The adequacy formulation by the committee that met like 2 times had a unanimously supported, and it's nowhere near 27 or 30 or any of those numbers.
yeah, no, I know, and I don't know how we can, let's just say we agree that we have too many. All right, then of course we would come up with a budget that we may not have the ability to choose which ones we think are the ones that are too many. We would have to come up with a budget with, say 9 teachers at 40,000. We'd have to come up. We'd have to give them $500,000 less, or whatever the number is. Whatever the number, what I'm saying?
Right.
The thing is, when you look at the classes and the size of the classes, if you look at 1st through 8th grade, only 8th grade has more than 23 students.
Right.
So if you're talking 2 teachers per grade, then a lot of these grades have, there's one that's as low as 17 students in the grade.
Yeah, I think I saw something that said the max you can have is 25 at the younger age and 30 at the older age, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Not that we need to go to the maximum. I personally would just like to see us go in the right direction, and then thinking about where the school district can go over time, to be getting as much value as possible for these scarce taxpayer dollars. So, there are individual teacher salaries in there, but I'm not sure if we have anything that crosses over between, how many students each teacher is teaching based on anything we've seen at this point. We have 3 more sessions and, homework time in between. I think that would be of benefit to the town to be able to make some recommendations that way and as part of our budget.
Yeah, agreed. And also, when we look at this and we're talking about just the administrative side of things, when we look at the SAU office and the principal's office at the school, we're spending over $1 million.
Right. The principal and the superintendent is what, 1/8 of the budget, about $1 million, just 2 groups. And I don't know if that's unusual or not. So
I think it's unusual, and I know John isn't here yet. John isn't here yet, but and I said it at a prior meeting that we need to look at joining another SAU or a new configuration of SAU. And John was at some meeting. I think it was John that said it. It was at some meeting where there seemed to be another SAU another school district that was interested in joining with us. I think it was Wolfboro. I think it was Wolfboro that I heard, and it was in the minutes, I believe, that was interested in joining forces with us, and that might be a good idea. That might be a good idea to find 2 or 3 places that are struggling with affording everything. 2 or 3 schools, even if they are not abutting schools, even if they're 50 miles apart. Back in the day, Haverhill and Lincoln shared SAU services, so it can be done. They don't have to be just next door. So to me, that is an opportunity that should be explored. Is there another town that's alone out there on an island that wants to save money and join forces with us? I don't know.
Exactly. The administrative costs being 1/8 of the budget, and then special education. I'd really like to know some details of what that $1 million in special education is getting everybody. Exactly. How many students does this affect? What are we actually paying for in this special education category?
You know, that I know, I'm not an expert on it, but I know that they've brought a lot of the stuff in-house, and they have, a special ed department in-house, plus the ones that need more intense than that need to go out to other programs. And I don't know how many children. I mean, I'm sure it's in all our backup information. And I think we heard at a prior meeting how many children are in the special ed department. And that's kind of hard to get a handle on, because you need to meet their need. And if their need is pretty complicated.
What is the need? We need to know the
Right,
need.
we need to know.
This isn't just to find out, are we blowing money? It's also to find out, are we spending all that we need to spend? It's not just, I'm just not trying to tear down every dollar here, but I want to know, are we getting value for our dollar, number one? And are we doing everything we're supposed to? Because I can guarantee you from personal experience that I have a kid that's an exceptional learner, and she got zero support from that school. I mean, nothing. I had to pull her out when she was freaking 8 years old, because there was nothing happening there. And just so you know, she started grad school, and she just turned 16. She started grad school this week.
Traditionally, the gifted ones have gotten $600 to attend something or other.
I don't even do that.
We've never done enough by the gifted ones. We never have. We just haven't. We haven't. I can remember the day it would be, many hundreds of thousands for the special ed students, and 600 to attend the National Honor Society something or other for the, the gifted students. It's always been that way.
And I would expect that would be under the special education fund.
I would think so.
But I know for a fact there's nothing in there right now, and it never has been. And I'm just fortunate enough to be able to cover the costs to get my kid through it. But there's other kids that are sharp that are going to need that aren't going to have the same resources that I'm fortunate enough to have, that we need to make, a contingency plan for. So I'd really like to know what the breakdown of the special education budget is. So, because if they could throw $1,773,000 down, let's break it down and know what that's covering, and make sure, number one, who's it for? How many students are there? What are their needs? How did they come up with this number? And is it the right number? Is it too low or too high? Or is it right? I don't know, but I would like to know the details.
And I think we're still using that partners thing program that we introduced. And I know when it was introduced a while ago, that was just that, get the program up and running. Let's get a good program organized. We're going to save a lot of money if they're not going to all these places around the state. So let's get our own program. Let's hire this partner program, and maybe we can learn enough so we can run our own without paying those experts. Maybe. I know they've justified it in recent history, that the program and the partners program, and it saves money, and school psychologists and occupational therapists and other services they provide. And that it might be cheaper than having the employee and the full time of the employee and pay them their benefit package and all that. But it would be interesting to see if have we learned enough so we can formulate our own without hiring a consultant? Does it save us money? Is it saving enough in employee benefits and everything else? And are we getting enough hours, or would we be better off to once again have our own person? Do we need more than the number of hours that the consultant can give us? Because we share those folks with other places. They're not, this isn't their only job. So that, all of that would be good to know.
Yeah. And then when you look at things like line 1260, English for speakers of other languages, how many people are we talking about here? What is this for? Because there's a class offered up in Littleton for hundreds of dollars, and we've got 10,000 slated, and we've had 20,000 slated. What exactly is this, and how is it being administered for those fees?
I don't think we have an awful lot that need special languages or different languages or whatever. We don't have a lot, but if you have one that only speaks Spanish or something, well, you've got to accommodate them. I don't think we have a lot of.
Right. So is this a separate stipend for a teacher to teach an additional class for 1 or 2 kids or something? That's what I'm wondering.
No, it's part of, one of our teachers has that certification, so it's the time that teacher, for the students that we have in the district, that teacher spends her time in that function besides their regular job, but it's not in addition to their salary. It's part of their salary.
It's part of their regular salary?
Again, we charge part of it to here for the amount of hours that they spend with these students, and then charge the rest to where they spend the rest of their day in regular education or wherever.
So you have a salary line item for a particular teacher that's broken out in separate line items?
Correct. We have teachers that are multi-certified. So if they happen to teach in different functions, that's where we charge out their salary to.
Yeah. And do you have any firsthand knowledge of how many students that fit in this category?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, Judy might know, and we can get those numbers because it really has bounced around the last few years.
Yeah, well, I'm curious if the influx of the people that have joined the school lately contribute to that, or if that's an ongoing thing that we have. And I don't know if it's.
Yeah, we had enough like 3 years ago that we had a full-time ESOL teacher. Right. We had so many students, and then all it took was a couple families to move out or move in or whatever. And then I think last year, we contracted those services out because we really didn't have anyone in-house to cover those students, which costs a lot more money. And now we're, again, getting this teacher certified so they can cover this population, because it does tend to go up and down, but we can get those exact numbers.
Okay, so we're going to find a line item as we go through this for that additional certification, which I see the benefit of, and I think is a good thing. So I just am looking for the breakdown of how all the costs are distributed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know what is meant by enrichment.
That's really what we've called some of our, like they did, what's in there right now? That they have a reading enrichment program at the elementary school, and it's 4 Saturdays in March right now. That's how they've been handling it. And we have, it's for the elementary school. So we have students that come in on the weekends during March. And so that's the money to fund that program primarily. We also have a few other, they used to do, not Odyssey of the Mind, but one of those programs. So anytime we have any of those, what we call enrichment.
Right.
That's what that is.
Invention Convention is one.
Invention Convention, yeah.
So these are covering the costs of what, both staff and materials?
Yeah, usually it's staff, and that's primarily staff. I'm trying to look, it's in the backup section too, but that is primarily staffing and materials, yeah, because for the reading enrichment, they all get books or materials that they do special activities with the kids. But that's what that is.
What fits into the vocational programs? I know you have a small engines class.
Yeah, so no, vocational, that's the tuitions that we pay for any of our students that attend Littleton or White Mountain Regional CTE centers. So right now, unfortunately, due to COVID, we don't have any students going there. But how that's done is there's vocational centers around the state. So we access the North Country, which is Littleton and White Mountain. So our students that go up there, there's a formula. And in fact, it's in the miscellaneous section in your binder. But the sending district, we pay a percentage of the cost per pupil in those centers. The state pays a portion too, to those centers too, for our students to attend. But historically, we've had a good amount of kids, 10 plus kids going to either Littleton or White Mountain. And again, that's in the miscellaneous section, so you can see that history. But they're just,
I, for one, certainly believe in vocational courses.
Yes, they're great programs.
Absolutely. Social worker services, are those contract services?
What was that?
Social worker services?
We have a school,
2113?
we have a school social worker, so that's the school social workers costs. So I think someone had made a comment about, we did have an SRO, or a school resource officer in the district. It was funded through a grant, and then the school picked up that cost, and it was in our budget for a while, but there was a lot of discussion a few years ago about the school resource officer. And at that point, the school board changed that model, and we switched, and just because of and Judy can go into more of the role of the school social worker, but the needs for the district were more in the social worker realm. Those services we needed more. And so that's, instead of the school resource officer, we now have the social worker.
So my follow-on question to that is, does this particular position, and this is totally going to be based on, the local need and usage, is this something that could potentially be in the same realm as, the superintendent being split between a couple of schools? Is that a possibility? Is that something that we're looking into? Do we have enough, social situations that we are, fully utilizing?
At this current time, the social worker is full-time and is needed full-time in the district. Based on the needs.
Do you have a series of metrics that, are tracked to validate that? I mean, how do you measure that?
Well, you measure it on the amount of services that are needed for each child, the amount of minutes and sessions that are needed, and assessments that are needed, in meetings that are needed. So when you put those all together and you look at the number of hours, then that determines the full-time need.
Yeah, but are you tracking, the results, what the follow-ons are, how these people are being addressed? Just simply to, evaluate what's happening, what's needed. Again, this is not just, do we need it less, but do we need it more?
Well, each student has an individual plan that the social worker goes by, and the team develops the plan based on the needs of the student in the family. So is that what you're asking?
Well, I really honestly have no idea what services this person would be providing. So that's what I'm wondering is, what's the list of services that they're there for? What are they not there for? I mean, I've got a kid in school. Has somebody evaluated my kid and determined they don't need anything, or I don't know what it might be.
The same process is used for the use of any related services. The parent is contacted first. It would be based on types of behavioral support or social and emotional support that is needed in order for the child to be successful in school. So that's how it starts out. And then obviously you contact the parent before anything is done. And then you move forward with developing a plan and how the support the social worker will be giving, what type of support the social worker will be giving to the a student as well as the family. The social
Does
worker is
Does
able,
this get into the realm of more than that? I mean, into the realm of nutrition and abuse and things like that?
the social worker is mainly focused on the social and emotional, and the health can be brought into it as well. The social worker is able to connect with all of the outside agencies that the child and the family may need, so then they get an all-rounded support system in place so that the student can become more successful in the learning environment.
Okay, that gives me a much better picture. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Tucker.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is Mike Donahue. Can I make a suggestion that we go back and start in the backup at category 1100-390, right at the beginning, and go down through it? And as we come to these categories and we have specific questions, they get asked. In the last half hour
Yeah,
that we've done
Mike.
this, we've jumped everywhere we can possibly jump. They're all great questions. I agree with everything that's been asked, but there's no organization to it. And this is how we get, this is like sitting at a beer joint, having a beer, discussing this with people.
Aren't you
I
having a
just-
beer?
Don't agree with the way it's happening.
Mike, you kind of took, I mean, it sounds like there seems to be some interest in the regular education and salaries, SAU, and student ratio, that we can dive into that. But I understand what you're saying is we need to have some structure, and that's what I was going to say, the same thing. If we look at the regular education, 1100, and then if we go to the backup and start at the 390, we have a technology of 20,000. And I think that's what you're saying, is we start to go down these avenues and see what we need. Is that what you were liking?
Yes, that's, I
I'm
mean,
fine-
they
I'm
were all
fine
good
with that.
questions. I believe they were all
Yep.
good questions.
No, I agree.
but The education portion, salary portion is a big section. Let's do that separately. But we've just jumped around so
Right.
much tonight that, and I've sat on this committee, I don't know, longer than I care to remember. And that's what happens.
Right.
There's no structure, and then you just lose focus, and you don't accomplish anything.
Which I hear, and I agree with you. Like I said, so let's jump into 1100. You said 390 is the first one on the backup that I have
Yes.
for technology. And that,
It
that
just,
the,
you being the chairman, you should just read down through and ask if anybody has a question. And if they do, we'll address it.
okay, that's kind of what I was wondering, which I'm good with. And that's what I'm saying. Does anybody have any question with the 390, which is technology? And I gotta admit, I feel like we've already done this, but that's okay. And does anybody have any questions about the technology that was presented at the last meeting? Does this, I guess my question on this is, does this include the technologies that, was it Trey was talking about?
Yes, yes.
This is all Trey's budget. And again, this is what we call other professional services. It's a lot of the, well, you can see the antivirus, the
We call-
cloud protection, all the system protections. I don't know, he explained it a lot better because he's the tech guy. But yes, that's directly from Trey's technology budget.
These are the district-wide programs that we have to have in place.
Right, no, I understand. Does this include the consultant fee, the consultants that he was talking about? He was talking about some consulting fees because he couldn't do that.
Yeah, this is how we usually do it, and it does get us organized, and I agree with Mike. However, I forgot who said that they wanted also to look at the budget differently than the way the state makes us look at it. This form that somebody along the way said, hey, it'd be good to know what we're spending on technology everywhere, what we're spending on paper, what we're spending, how many computers we got, totals, the bigger picture. There's also value, and I hope we have time. There's the dilemma we got, having enough time to look at item by item, and then also look at the bigger picture, that we're spending, you know, whatever on technology or spending whatever on any topic you can name. And it's almost, we need to do both. And I'm just awful afraid we're gonna run out of time.
And I agree, but we have to get through it real quick. And I was just curious, because those are two things that I heard
Yeah,
at the previous meeting.
so Tucker, the consultant for the technology,
Consultant was listed under the computers line where it jumped from 3,000 last year to 24,000.
right, it's under the re-engineering, restructuring, re-engineering,
Okay.
1100,
that's what I was-
430 in that next line.
That's what I was,
Yeah.
that's what I was.
That's where the
okay.
consultant
All right.
is part of that cost. And that's a special project that he was working on.
All right. Well, I guess, so since there's a decrease in the technology, it looks like, am I reading that correct?
Yes.
Of just around 2,000, I guess, if there's no other questions and my quick ones, do we want to jump to maintenance? Does anybody have any questions on the 1100, 430 on the maintenance on total of 34,000?
Yeah, those new clocks, so they're gonna have hands or numbers.
Killing me, you're killing me.
Well, I'm just hoping we're still teaching kids how to read, clocks with hands.
But and again, this is where I keep coming into that last meeting I saw. This does not include, because I know there's going to be a warrant, right? Article, this does not include the temporary boiler, obviously.
No, and that's my point. We have maintenance everywhere, maintenance of this, that, and the other. And, we never do get a handle on how much we're spending to maintain something.
Yeah.
Because the figures are scattered absolutely everywhere.
And that's what I'm trying to get. Is
Yeah.
This is
isn't
just,
building maintenance.
no, I see that. And
No.
this is just real small maintenance. All right. We went over the bike rentals. Any question on that?
No,
Good. Internet access. Anybody have any questions? That'd be 1100, 531.
is it adequate? And have the internet needs changed because of the remote learning and because of how we're doing business now? I mean, do we have what we need for folks to provide education in the building and wherever they happen to be?
Currently, yes, we do have the material that is needed for now. A lot of the excess tools that we needed, technology tools that we needed, we were able to access federal funds for that due to COVID.
But this is just our regular annual or monthly, you pay your internet
Right,
bill
Right.
at home.
That's what this
This
is.
is our
Okay.
internet bill for the school.
right.
Okay, cool. I guess we'd jump to 580 under 1100. I don't think anybody has any questions on that, do they?
These are all the travels for all the kids that go to different field trips and stuff, is
No.
it?
This is a staff travel. So
Oh,
if
staff travel.
they have to go
Yeah,
for
this is-
professional development or whatever, or, it's not that big, but it's
Yeah.
reimbursed, mileage reimbursement.
Pretty minor.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's no other questions we'll go to 610, which is the supplies. Again, not a very big one.
Yep.
Looks like it's been reduced. That's a good thing.
Well, supplies, you got to look at page 4 as your total, but we break it down because again, we have to report to the state by elementary, middle, high school, because that's how we get our cost per pupil for each level. That's
Yeah, I
again, why
remember-
we're breaking down this stuff for the Department of Ed.
Yeah, I remember you saying
So
that at the
regular
meeting.
ed supplies, so you have a couple
Yep.
pages, so it is
Yeah, it's a couple pages.
$33,000.
The-
What's that? I'm
And
sorry?
Bonnie, our copy paper is in here. It's
Okay.
under it's on the bottom of page 3.
Bottom of page 3.
It's part of that that $10,000 number, but that's not all paper.
Okay.
That's all the general supplies we have, that they use in the classrooms. Probably about half
Isn't
of
the
it is
total of that,
half of it's paper.
isn't the total of that
Maybe.
20,000?
Huh?
Of supplies?
Well, let me just throw in a question on one of the, in the middle, or the high school supplies, you have the small engines and welding supplies. $157 doesn't seem to really, that doesn't even buy welding rods.
Yeah, he has other stuff under equipment.
Okay,
That's the tough part of this whole thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've said. That's no matter what you're talking about, it's everywhere in the
We can
budget.
slice it and dice it many different
Yeah.
ways.
Because of the way it needs to be reported to the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get a picture of what the welding department really costs you, or what the, anything, the art program or any of the programs, what they really cost you, because the items are everywhere.
Well, I gotta say, one of the big things that I've come across over time is, when we're looking at any of the trades type things in the school here, compared to what we're pouring into music and band, I think we're really coming up short on the trades. We're barely even offering anything on the trades, and we're putting all this emphasis on band and whatnot. And I bet you, at least from my personal experience, 90% of the kids that walked out of band or music class never learned how to read a single note of music. So when people, generally when they talk about cutting programs, they think back of which ones really didn't do me any good. But everybody wants to scream for the arts, but who's the kid that's getting all the benefit out of the arts? That's the thing, I mean, does everybody here know how to read music?
Not me.
Tough question. Not a lot of people want to answer that because that's the truth of it. But boy, if you learned how to take apart an engine or you learned how to do some welding, that comes in handy for everybody. So, sorry I had to share that.
No, I mean, I think I don't disagree, and I don't know how many times I read about how people should go into the trades right now.
Well,
So,
yeah, you're learning some practical things. You really are, well, the arts, music, or the trades. You're making for a more well-rounded person, and exposing them to some things they might pursue later on.
so that would ask the question: is that something we as a committee want to really look into? Is the price per trades and the price per arts? I mean, is that something, an avenue we want to go down, or is?
Well,
do we
it's
want to
something we need. I think it's something to have a discussion with and say to the school board, hey, what the heck has happened to the trades?
Right.
So,
Because
I mean, I kind of agree. I think that's more of a board issue, budget issue. And, I would think our role is just kind of to see, whether we fit into the overall box that makes sense for the town in terms of, the economics largely. And that, that I don't think necessarily in the budget committee, that's the place where I'd want to have a discussion about, which type of enrichment program, which type of sports or those kind of things make the most sense for our kids. And, if something is absolutely essential and, that the town is saying they want to do it, we're kind of supposed to say whether we can afford it or not, or at least what the consequences are if they can't or can. So that's
the same thing.
Yeah, we care about the education, that they're getting a good education, and the classes they're taking and the programs they're taking. But those decisions kind of are the school board administrations. Ours, we're focused on the money. you know, the dollars and cents, and we're there to look at the money
Yep. And
and
then looking
value.
at money, where's the money going?
So,
Yes, the value you're getting. Robert has said it 2 or 3 times. Is it almost, is the money being well spent? Is it being spent in the best places? Or are there some programs that, you know, could be deleted because they don't have that much value? And yet there's another one that should be enhanced a bit because it has a lot of value. You know, we're the ones that look at the bottom line impact on the tax rate. Not with total disregard for education, certainly not, but
No, no.
I agree with you. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with mention to the school board when there's a big disparity between one area and another.
right.
One thing that was brought up to me from a community member was, do we need a band leader and a music teacher with a 375 kid school?
We
Don't
have a
know the answer to it.
286 kid school.
It's a 286.
I mean, 286. I'm sorry. I was thinking of when my daughter was there. Yeah, we have under 300 kids and we have 2 full-time staff members for 300 kids to teach them band and music. Can that be combined? And this was a question brought to me by a community member, not me.
Mhm.
But I'll bring it forward. But
Yeah, and that's part of what we're here talking about. Exactly. That's a very good point, John. Thank you.
yep.
So,
Yeah, and I don't.
again, I can't believe that, you know, again, we're gonna have to decipher out of all this budget, you know, where the band stuff comes in and out. To look at that. So that might be something we want to discuss. As you know, again, is our money well spent there? But right now, under 640, right, is what we're talking about. The band and chorus in there is pretty minimal. So I'm sure we have to find other areas. And again, we went back to salaries real quick, which seems to be a topic that's coming up, and I think we'll get there. So I guess moving forward on the periodicals, 641. What is that? That's not anything we need to worry about, is it? No.
No,
Fine,
No.
that's,
No, yeah, it's fine. Want to go again? I go to 643. There's more money for.
There is, you know, regarding the periodicals and stuff, I'm assuming that this has a tie-in to the library. And we did hear the librarian come and speak, and she was thrilled with what she was finding she had for resources. And she was trying to figure out anything new that she would even like. So at this point, there were so many different things that she was trying to figure out. She didn't really have a budget. So I assume this is part of the things that she's finding that she's real happy with. So now I guess the real question is, we should be asking her, you know, here's this list of these things. Are these what you like and you want to keep formulating your library with?
I actually got the feel at that meeting that she had done that really well. And because she knocked out a couple things. Her budget went down, and not that it's very big.
Yeah.
So I thought she was very frugal and did a great job. And like I said, it was kind of weird for her to speak there when she wasn't asking for more. So that was interesting.
Well, it was really good to hear from her, to understand that, you know, she felt she was getting everything she needed. And it you know, for me, it gave me additional confidence in when she wants to request something, that she's got a good, real reason for it.
Yeah.
And just a clarification, the periodicals that you're looking at here under regular education are more the little classroom readers, like the
Yeah, I'm seeing it's wildlife journals and stuff.
yeah, well, yeah,
using-
especially used at the elementary school, the Scholastic News, all those weekly readers.
Yep.
And it ties in with their curriculums, you know, the social studies and the reading language arts. Just anyway, that's what those are. There is a separate library budget
Okay, so Debbie, is that the teachers ordering those or the librarian ordering those?
These are the teachers,
Oh,
their
okay.
classrooms.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Jumping to, was that 643? Informational access fees. Just, what is that, Junie? Like-
Those are the different programs that are needed.
Okay.
And you need the different program access fees in order for groups of teachers to use the programs within their classroom.
So I assume that was just for computer stuff.
Correct.
I was curious about what's all the stuff without tiers.
Learning without tears, typewriting, not typewriting, typing without tears, writing without, handwriting without tears. Yeah.
Those are just different programs that the
They use
teachers.
it at the high school. No, just kidding.
Kind of depressing.
Elementary.
When we were growing up, it was typing for idiots.
Oh, it's kind of like that, you know, computers for dummies kind of thing, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, so sounds like we're good with that. 650 is computer software.
And that's more district wide, where the other stuff was more classroom wide, but
This is more classroom, you say?
no, this is more district wide.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
this
the
line sweep.
licensing for a lot of the
Yep.
software that we use.
Normal fees, it looks like, and
Mhm.
probably
Trey
stuff you
talked
can't
about
control.
those. Yeah,
Correct.
and Trey talked about those.
Right, it's just stuff you can't control as much as you'd like to. Going to 730. That's nothing, right? Nothing there. Here's 730, there it is.
On
Yeah,
number
that's-
730, science grade 6, there's nothing in the budget for 2021, 22.
Correct. They didn't need any additional equipment there for next year.
Okay, good.
These tend to be a little bigger items than like their consumables and their supplies, so we don't see these ordered every year like we see supplies and
Right.
consumables, so.
733. Is that new furniture?
Yep,
Is that basically what that is? All right. No questions. 734. New computers, is that
Yeah, nothing there.
nothing there? So we don't have to worry about that.
Those, never mind, the general and the,
yeah, nothing new for next year.
okay, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. 737, replacement furniture, this is minimal. The replacement computers, didn't Trey go through that the other night?
Yeah,
Can
but
I,
that's mainly laptops for one of the carts.
I'd like to just bring up one point for maybe this is already being done or whatnot, but because of the whole COVID scenario and the change in how everybody's doing everything and whatnot, there are a lot of different things that different products out on the market that have drastically gone down in cost. Specifically, I mean, I'm sure you've all seen it, like with, the week after Christmas with Walmart, you can buy a 65-inch TV for 400 and something bucks. Is anybody from the school side looking at that kind of thing, thinking and doing a little forward thinking about where you could get some of these cheaper things at this time because of this scenario and taking advantage of it? That may not right now be included in any of this, but may be a good idea to address, when this all comes to fruition.
Yeah, the process is that, especially with Trey and Deb as well, is when we're ordering during the summer, we're always looking at different companies and what ones can give the best price and the warranties and whatnot. So that's constantly going on anytime we do a purchase like these.
Excellent.
And can I ask you a quick question? I noticed that the request was 20,000 and it's only 10,000. And it looks like they decided not to go with replacement desktops for the chem lab. Is that what I'm seeing? Are those that
Yeah.
outdated? Are they that outdated or?
That after the teacher had requested it, and then they went back and they looked in the classroom, and it was determined that they really don't need to replace those computers for next year.
All right. I mean, with
So
all
we
these
won't use the
laptops,
class
will they
size?
ever?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. And also just the way things have changed this year, and everything's more one-to-one with the students anyway. So you're seeing more laptop or Chromebook use versus some of the original desktops.
That's what I was saying. Is that, I
Yeah.
mean, those kind of
Yeah, so that was
obsolete,
not,
which is good.
that's why they put in 0 for next year.
Yeah,
at
that's
this
good. I
point.
was just curious. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Cool. All right, any other questions on the computer replacements as we go up to 739 replacement equipment in the elementary school?
Dodgeballs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a question. We've gone through this last couple of years, every time, 10 Canon digital cameras.
Yeah,
Is,
that's, yeah. Okay.
Debbie, is that, who teaches that class? Adams?
Yeah, so that's more for the middle school. And again, they're replacing a lot of the old ones. And we have the whole inventory. We can get you guys that with
Okay.
dates. But these were the oldest ones that have a lot of use, especially in the middle school classes.
Okay. And maybe it doesn't tell me, but I'm looking at the 2021 master schedule that you provided to us in this 98 pages. And I'm looking down through his schedule. Does it not have the middle school in there, or it shows that this biggest class is only 10 students?
Yeah, I don't,
Am I missing something? He's got a class with 2, another class with 2 students, a class with 4, a class with 10, a class with 8, and a class with 9. Am I missing something?
No, those are the numbers for now, right?
So I guess we got one class that has 10 students, so we're buying 10 new cameras. I can't believe that some of the ones we have aren't operational. And we've gone through this last few years. We've always objected to it because we didn't feel it was a good expense.
Yeah, we've traditionally said it's so few students and, you know, and 10 cameras. Do we need 10?
yeah, I'll get he did write up a write-up. I'll try to find that either tonight while you guys are going through this, or we'll get that to you.
All right, thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
I mean, I might even add, how many of those kids have cell phones? I mean, they take better pictures than the digital ones sometimes. Honestly, I mean.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get a write-up on that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's something to consider. Just kind of making a note. Awesome. Any other questions on 739?
Somebody elaborate on the vernier equipment replacement?
What was
The words right out of my mouth.
that?
That would be in the science. The science.
Yeah. the
Replacement equipment for the high school?
science, the vernier equipment replacement.
Oh, that's in the high school technology class.
Yeah.
The Arduino, is that what it is?
Vernier?
Vernier.
Oh, Vernier. Okay, where are we? I was looking at wrong line.
Yeah, 1100, 739, the equipment high school, page 13. Just under the digital cameras.
Yeah, the Vernier equipment.
Mhm.
They use both in chemistry, which we got for this year, and also biology.
Okay, but what is it? What is the actual piece of equipment?
We can get you that. I don't know the technicalities of that. It's like probes and things, but we'll get you that.
Has it never been purchased before? 20,
These are
2020?
replacements. They're replacing older,
Oh, okay.
much older equipment.
Okay, so this is the first time they've replaced it in the last 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yep.
Okay. It is interesting. What is it? Okay. Any other questions on the high school one? The high school equipment, replacement equipment? Switching upgrade? That must be.
Yeah, Trey went through that too.
Yep. Yep. All right, if there's no other questions, we'll jump to the 810 dues and fees.
The biggest piece in that is what we pay to North Country Education Services, NCES. And that's where we are able to access a lot of specialists, psychologists, behavioral consultants, professional development for our staff.
Yep. Okay. All right, with that, we're jumping into where we kind of jumped in a little bit. We're jumping into 1200, which is special education. 1200 for the, we're going to 330, 1200, 330. Other professional services. So that looks like just consultants. And it says that it's behavioral and hearing. So those are testing all our students. Is that what's going on, or?
If needed, yeah.
Right. I mean, anytime you're identifying a student, you have to go through a certain process, and those components are needed.
It is a lot higher costs that we have, especially for the behavioral consultant, but we use grants for that. So our IDEA, our special ed funds, a lot of that is in there. So we put as much as we can, we get as much as we can from the grants, but there's some extra that we have in our budget.
Yeah, and the only thing I'm seeing is that what did we spend over the other few years?
Again, if we can take it out of the grant, we'll
Half.
take it out of the grant. But sometimes we just don't know what those expenses are going to be, depending on the student needs.
Right, I understand that. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? We go to 390. Medicaid billing.
Yep, so we bill out for Medicaid.
Am I right on that
Medicaid,
one?
yeah, eligible services. That's just the
Yep.
fee that we pay the Medicaid billing service based off the revenues that we get, which are much
Okay.
higher.
And it looks like last year was pretty low due to the year going. kaput.
Yeah, and there
Okay.
were some changes in the Medicaid billing, but that's all caught up now. Our special ed director and Judy
Okay.
could go into more details, but they changed some of the regulations and then they changed them back. So we've been able to recapture some of those costs.
Okay, good.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
1200, 430. Maintenance.
That's the FM system. When students have hard of hearing, and then, that's what's needed for the student. That's the maintenance cost of the maintenance on an annual basis.
On those machines. Okay, great.
Correct.
We jumped to 534. That's pretty standard, it looks like. Postage.
Correct. That's just for the, letters and communications that need to go to the parents. Mhm.
All right, so what's the 1200, 321, 560? What is,
Yeah, let's go
we
through.
jump to the next line.
Let's see what this is.
Okay, so the biggest piece of that, the top line you'll see is our partner classroom. And again, that's, what was it, a couple meetings ago at the school board meeting, our special ed director came in and talked to the school board about that program because it was brought into the district. I think this is our third year. And so I think we currently have 7 students in that program, and the district has saved a considerable lot of money because there's some money here. There's also some money in summer school because that program goes on in the summer, but sending one student out of district for some of the needs in this program could cost one student about $150,000. Now we have 7 students in this program. So, and again, we could play the presentation. We can get you some more information on this program, but it's been able to help a population of students and save the district a lot of money in the process.
So these
This is-
severely
these are
handicapped
Contracted service.
children or the severely special needs, or what? How would you describe them? What kind of students are in this group?
Autism, Judy can go on,
Yeah.
behavioral,
Autism, behavioral, social and emotional. You know, it varies, but they're intense. Intense needs.
and the program consists of, well, that fee there is what we pay to the New England NECC. They're the organization that
Gotcha.
supplies our partner classroom. And that cost there represents the teacher, the behavioral consultant, and the curriculum that is used for this program for our 7 students. We also, each student has a para. That's in our salaries.
Mhm.
That's our costs. So there, we could get you the full cost of the program, and I can't think of it right now, but the full cost of the program is the NECC fee, which includes the teacher, all the resources there, and our paras.
Is there any reason that this service couldn't be provided internally rather than a contracted service?
We don't have the expertise, but Judy and special ed director can go into that more, but
We have tried to hire people to come in and work within the school. We weren't successful with that. So this program brings a consistent approach so that everyone's doing, gets the same training, gets the intensive training, and the level of expertise is there, and it's a consistent program. So it's very systematic, and it
So
works
have you
well.
tried recently and failed?
I would
Or
say
have you
2 years.
tried in the past and just given up trying?
I would say 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, right before they came, we had attempted to do it ourselves, and this is,
Well, you're showing the $208,000 cost there, and I would think you'd be able to hire a couple of people for less than 208,000. So I don't think it's something to give up on and just continue to go down the road of using a contractor.
This was something I mentioned before, that we contracted with this outfit and with the idea of putting it together and in an organized fashion, and that maybe we could go on our own after it all got organized. I think we got to look at it. 3 years is a good time period to look at it, to see if it still makes sense to do it this way, or have we learned enough so that we can do it ourselves, do it in-house. I mean, it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I mean, if we're considering the possibility of not needing as many teachers as we have,
Right.
we'd be better off in spending some money and having them get those certifications necessary to continue with this position.
well, it wouldn't, if we were to do it ourselves, it would still need the same number of staff. I mean, we're not going to be able to cut down any staff. We'd have to get out our own staff, and the cost would probably be about the same.
I'd like to know what that it is, not guess at it.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what you said, Robert.
I said that, I'd rather know for sure rather than guess at it. I find contracted services generally cost more because not only are you paying for somebody's salary, but you're paying for somebody's benefits, and you're paying for a profit margin on their side. So generally speaking, an in-house service can be less expensive than an external service.
Right.
So it's certainly worth looking at. And if you can't find somebody one day, it doesn't mean you don't find the perfect person the next.
Mhm.
How
Judith,
successful
this
have-
program is working well? That's some,
the words were in my mouth.
yeah, sounds,
Yeah, the program itself is working very well. I believe that if we did not have that program, then you would have these students wouldn't be able to be part of the community. They would be out of district placements. And I think this is the best way, in the least restrictive environment in which it can be done for the community taxpayers and for the kiddos as well. I mean, the levels of high levels of expertise that is needed in this program is extremely high. And you would be trying to, I guess the last time we did try it, which was 3 years ago, it was for, for people within the area. We weren't getting anybody outside of New Hampshire to invest in the community and move up here, for what we were asking. So
What you're also saying is you got a $208,000 bill on 7 kids, which is essentially 30,000 per kid to deal with this.
correct. If it was out of district, it would be 150
So
per student.
That's confirmed.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's 2.5% of our budget is just these 7 kids and just that portion of it. And that's consistent with what I've heard is that, that there's tremendous, push down for kids with severe education needs. And it's part of our commitment as a state to offer everybody reasonable education. And we pay for it by asking the towns to pick it up wherever they happen to end up. So, and it sounds like you're being pretty creative about it. It seems like, I don't know the children myself, but it sounds pretty like pretty well thought out strategy.
I know other districts in the area are having a challenging time because of the fact that they don't have a program like this, and they're ending up having to send their students out of district. And there's no programs around the area to meet the needs of these kiddos. So
you're saying other schools don't have this service and they're sending kids someplace else?
yes.
And what schools are those? I'd like to do some research with those schools and what they're dealing with and understand.
I know some.
Maybe the program here could support some of those kids too.
Yeah, but people have come and visited the program and have looked into it. Right now, there are no openings, but that is something that we would certainly look into in the future if we do have openings.
And just make sure they don't move here. Anyway.
Well, and I guess if we jumped out to 561, the Charter Academy tuition. Any questions on that?
The only question I have is how fixed is the tuition with the charter schools, and how consistent has it been? You're muted, Judith.
It has been pretty steady. They've gone up a little bit each year, but they have not gone up too much. It certainly hasn't been unreasonable.
So the charter program is for kids that need to be sent to another school for some internal school reason that makes it better to have them somewhere else, right?
Yes, and depending on their learning needs and if they're better off working in another environment.
Yes, see, I like what you just said, their learning needs. So why don't we talk further, maybe not today, but in dealing with these kids that are gifted and be able to support them in that way here? Because some of those need to go on to colleges and stuff. And if you can do it for this scenario, that's a way of addressing gifted kids.
Exactly. Yes.
All right.
I got a question,
Yeah.
probably Debbie. Now that we're into this COVID and we're not sending our students, are we obligated to pay anything towards this program?
We, like at the beginning of the year, we usually pay for the seats that we purchased, which was 6, but we also can sell them.
Right, what I'm saying is now that we're not sending because of COVID, are we expending any money to that program?
We currently, I think, have 1 student attending, but yeah, I don't know, we'd have to, I'm not sure the answer to that.
Well, you don't know if we've been writing them a check or not. Well, we haven't been
No,
sending
again,
any
they
kids
bill us
because
they bill us at the beginning of the year. So yes, we have paid for our seats.
even
And-
though we're
but
not sending students, we're paying.
Right now, yeah. Whether they're going to refund the money, but all the districts that send, we purchase at the beginning of the year a number of seats, and we pay at the
Okay.
beginning of the year.
entire
Earlier in the
year?
earlier in the conversation tonight, you said we weren't sending any. Now you just said we are
We-
sending one student.
We weren't sending any to the CTE.
Okay, but we're sending
This
one
is
right
charter
now.
school. This is charter school.
Okay, so we're sending one to CTE, you're saying?
No, none to CTE, one to charter school.
One to charter,
Yep.
okay? And that's all that we
CTE,
have.
we haven't paid any tuition. Charter school, the way they bill the districts is they bill us at the beginning of the year for the number of seats.
Can you look and see if we're gonna be refunded that where we haven't sent any students?
Yeah, we can look into
So that
that.
we-
Yeah.
And this is
And-
saying you're planning on sending 6 students next year?
Yep.
Do we know we are, or are we assuming?
No, no.
No, we used to have 10 on that, in that budget, and every year we've come down. And so we're down to 6.
What's a
Projecting.
normal year for us to send? You know,
Last year
excluding
we
this
had-
last season.
Last year we had 6 students.
That's where the number came from, is off last year's.
Yeah, we kind of, yeah, and again, we've been dropping it, like Judy said, we used to have 10 slots. We've dropped it down to 6 now.
All right. Any other questions? Should we move on?
Yep.
563, there's nothing. 580, $600 for travel, it looks like,
For
or
the special ed staff, yes.
special ed staff. Okay. 610, is the supplies for that staff? Is that what is that what we're assuming?
Yep.
Yes.
615, looks like
What we
that's
call Consumables,
consumables, okay. 640, books and, okay. 43. See anything where anybody's gonna jump on those? 810 dues, that's fine. There's any other questions on the regular special ed? I guess we can jump to 1220, summer school special ed. Are there any questions on that, the summer school special ed?
We got a lot, do we have a lot of kids going to summer school?
we can get you those numbers, but yeah, I can't remember how many we had this summer. We had quite a few, well, we had the partner program going during the summer. But we can get you the numbers. It's dependent on their IEPs.
How are the kids doing with it? I mean, are they getting value out of it? I mean, are they enjoying it? Is it working for them? Is it?
It does work for them, because these type of kiddos, if they're away from that, those skills and haven't used them for a while, they tend to lose the skill, and it doesn't stay long in their memory. So they end up having to reteach and relearn at the beginning of every year. So it starts them, they take 2 steps forward and they end up going back. So with the summer school, it keeps them up with the skills that they've been working on, and so they can continue their practice through the summer, so that when they do come back in the fall, there is a little bit of regression, but not as severe.
Does this give the teachers the opportunity to use other teaching methods because this is a more select group needing this program?
Yeah, they can use whatever strategies and methods are going to work for the students. But they certainly can, sometimes they do use other types of strategies that can for example, be more engaging for them. So
Yeah.
Considering it's summer, so you try to do a little bit different, not shared table access, types of skills, but you can certainly work on, more outdoor type of skills as well.
So in 2018, 19, did we not really do much summer
Well-
school special
Well, the
ed?
biggest change has been the partner program cost in the summer.
Yeah, and if you look down, I think you misprinted.
Yeah, I know, I see that. So the
'cause
total in
it
nineteen
looks like
twenty
you went, yeah, from a massive
includes the
jump there.
30,000, yeah. But before that, that's the biggest increase in that line, because the other piece is our staff.
Did we not do it? Like, did we not really provide anything that in 18, 19, and now we do a lot more?
I mean, it really depends on the IEPs. We could go back and look, and sometimes we're able to access some grant funds for special ed, for summer school. So we could have
No,
had some
I
grant
think
funds that year.
I think what he's asking, Debbie, we didn't have a partner program summer school back in 18, 19, did we?
No, we didn't. That's why that number's so
That's the
low.
question he's asking.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
wh-
that number's so low, but
what-
he's also, I thought he was also looking at that $8,000 line.
No, well, what I'm looking is, what did we do for those kids then? In 18, 19?
We didn't have a partner
We didn't have
program
that
then.
program.
So they didn't do anything in the summer? I guess, I don't know.
Well,
That's
some,
fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now it's an issue.
So that partner program for the year, because the other line item back on the previous page is covered 10 months and we're adding 2 months here. That
Right.
program is really pushing 250,000.
Oh, yeah, and it's what I said before, any program, the numbers are spread out everywhere. It would be good to kind of see, what does the partner program cost?
We can get you that because we have to throw in the
Yeah.
paras too.
Everything, as someone said a while back, it would be nice to see, look at these things differently, as opposed to how we have to put them on this form to see what building maintenance, what maintaining that property is costing us, or any item. Look at the total cost of the grounds and the maintenance, or the total cost of special ed or music or whatever it is.
I guess one of my things I'm curious about is, from 18 to 19, did we make a philosophical jump that we're not doing enough for these kids, so we want to do more in the summer for them? I'm just curious.
well, when we first started the program, we were not able to meet the needs of a lot of the students because we were going to be looking at outside programming. So then that's when we brought in the other program, and they have a very extensive summer. They required a very extensive summer program as well. So there was a year where there weren't as many students, and or some of the students were not. They just weren't going. The family didn't want them to go. They were going on vacation, and whatnot. So, we can recommend the program to students, but if the parents say no, then the students don't go to the program. So it all depends.
Yeah, and in 2018 and 19, you bought the 10 months, not the 12 months, and then you added the 2 months afterwards. So questions that I'd like to know is, how many kids utilized it last summer? For how much of the summer? Do you have an attendance
Yes.
record or anything?
Yep.
Just, let's feel comfortable with the dollars being spent by understanding the true value, the number of students, and, did they show up? I mean, you can have a kid sign up for something and never show up.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, we do keep records of everything.
Yeah.
We do have that.
Yeah, it's just, all of a sudden that big change. Interesting. And is that for all 7 students?
It's recommended for all 7 students, yes.
And if they don't use it, do we still have to pay that?
yeah.
The teacher we pay. We wouldn't pay for the support staff because they wouldn't have a student to be supporting.
And we have to pay those fees for 1 or 7, right?
If you have, yes, yeah. No, because for every student, there's a support staff person. So if that student wasn't there, you wouldn't be paying for support staff, but you would be paying
that-
for the teacher.
Yeah, but that's the support staff. The partner program, we're paying for the program, whether it's 1 or 7, the 30,000.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about right there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, for the most
Yeah.
part, we have had success with the families having the children come to the program for the summer.
And that, again, I assume, and I would assume that because we're meeting their needs better, stuff that we couldn't get done during the year, I guess. All right,
It's to prevent for severe regression for
Okay.
these types of students, and it's required by law.
what law is that? I always like to know exactly what RSA, when somebody says by
Okay.
law, I want to know exactly what law.
Okay, it's under the
Every time. Whenever you tell me that, have the RSA, get me the law.
it's under the IDEA under extended school year programming. I can certainly get that for you.
Please do.
and I guess when you say that, that means it became required by law in 2019?
No, it's always been required by law, but it just depends on if the students and the parents are going to accept the program or not.
Do you have any letters from any of the parents on how they feel their kids did over the summer, or, any feedback?
I can certainly ask the sped director for that.
Yeah,
See if they
hopefully
have any.
there'll be something in there about that stuff.
All right, any other questions on 1220? Move to 1270, enrichment opportunities. Any questions? All right, we'll jump to 1300 then, vocational programs. Any questions on that?
Is this the program?
Didn't we already have that 20,000 on another line item somewhere else earlier?
Yep, this is the backup section of the budget.
Oh, okay, that was the budget line that we were looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
How many students are going to this program right now?
Currently none,
And
Just gonna say,
again,
this is the one,
and we're not paying anything because
okay,
they charge us by the student. It's a percentage of the cost per pupil from the
Now they're just not going
from
because
the
of the
receiving
COVID.
districts.
and the 20,000's in the budget, how many does that account for? Do we know?
I'm looking back to last year. It really depends. So if you look in the miscellaneous section in your budget,
Yeah,
we show how there's a whole write-up on vocational education. So it's based on, again, how many students attend, and there's a tuition charge per semester for each center. So the Littleton Center has a rate, White Mountain Regional has a rate. So that rate is what we pay per student to access those programs. Last year, we had 10 students in the vocational programs at Littleton and White Mountain Regional.
Where's White Mountain Regional?
Where is it?
Yeah,
It's in Whitefield.
oh, Whitefield.
So those 10 students, it was about 16,000. It was $16,664.80. That's how much it cost for those 10 students last year.
That seems fair.
but wasn't that cut short? Was that cut
Um,
short, or was that?
It might, yeah, that, again, they charge us for however many days those kids were actually there.
Right,
That's
okay,
actual
'cause-
tuition per
so
day.
20,000 is where you guys have normally been, is what I'm assuming, because it's
Well,
24
yeah, if
from
you look
18,
at the
19.
prior year, yeah,
So
And-
you just, it could be a little bit more, could be less, is what you're saying.
it's a budget. It's our best guess.
What's the transportation cost to bring them there? I wonder. It's further along, but
Well, as we go on, Bonnie, we'll get to that.
I
yeah,
was gonna
Yeah,
say,
that's under
I think that's coming
transportation
up, Bonnie.
budget.
yeah, it'll come up, and then there again, it's just, it'll tell you, you know, what it costs for that program and whether you can do it in-house.
All right. Matt, I don't know what the programs are. It would be interesting to know what the kids are taking for vocational.
Yeah, we
program.
actually, that's in the back. Last year, we had kids in welding, automotive, junior ROTC program, computer networking, and culinary arts. So there's and we can get you, there's quite a few programs between the two centers, but that's what they accessed last year.
Interesting. I just say, because I know my son took some welding in the class he took last year.
Yeah,
I know it's just beginning welding, but it was anyways. Okay. Any other questions for 1300? Go to 1400 co-curricular. We have any questions for that? And I think we had a lot of the stipends had to deal with this section that we got from information, I believe.
Do these include the stipends, or is this,
they're under the salaries line.
okay.
Any questions on co-curricular?
Yeah, I guess I do. Fencing again in here for the ball fields. Now we got an electronic scoreboard. It was requested last year, didn't pass.
All right, I'm trying to catch up with you. Hold on.
7:30, go down
7:30. I got one right
1400,
before that. We're paying
Okay.
$7,000 for referees at sporting events. Is that what that is? The
Yeah.
$390?
Yep, those are the fees we pay for our refs.
How much does a ref get for a game?
Depends on the sport, but the rates come out of the NHIAA. And they assign all those refs and we pay them.
I'd like to see a breakdown of that on how much each sport is costing for the refs.
Yeah, we can get that.
I guess we want to jump down to 7:30. I'm caught up now. Sorry about that, Mike. Fencing for the baseball field and softball field. What was in the scoreboard?
Yeah, I'm just questioning the need for it.
Yeah, the scoreboard is not actually in that number, but the number that you see is for the fencing. The scoreboard was requested, but was not approved
So
by
that's
the administration.
Okay, that's what I was looking at. What is the fencing? Is it stationary or, I mean, permanent? It's not the permanent fencing, right?
For the fencing, that's,
Last year, we were told it was a home run.
We can get you those details.
yeah, we can get you the details on that.
So I didn't, Mike, what did you say, what they said last year? I was just curious.
Last year, we were told that it was a home run fence, you know, so the
Yep.
kids had something to hit the ball over, so they knew they made a home run. It wasn't for safety, it wasn't for anything else. It was just simply a home run fence.
I think, Mike, didn't they say it was temporary and it had to be taken down and put up?
Well, yes, it has to come down because of soccer. They play soccer in the same area
Oh, right,
where they play
right, yes.
baseball, softball.
Exactly.
But that's all it was for. It was just a home run fence.
So I guess the question is, do we need to, you're asking, are we going to
Recommended or not recommended as a budget committee.
recommend it or not?
Correct.
Does there anybody have any thoughts on that?
I'm not in favor of it.
Well, you've got to also figure in the extra maintenance it's going to take to weed whack around it and mow around it and everything else too. So there's a little bit more expense every year to have that fence there, putting it up, taking it down. So that there's going to be more expense than just the cost of it. That's just my 2 cents.
Agreed, yeah.
You know, and granted, it's $3,900 out of $8 million budget, which ain't much, but you got to start somewhere, people.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, is this the time where we make the recommendation to not have that? Or is it,
No, I think we continue going through, making
Okay.
notes, and then we'll
that's,
follow
I
up
mean,
with any.
I'm taking tons of notes, but I just wanted to make sure. Okay,
Yeah, no, you're on track, Tucker.
all right, okay, good. So that's something that'll be up for further discussion.
What's this next
we got
line item of
10.
the family ID membership?
What was that? The family ID membership?
Yeah,
They're using that now to register the kids for athletics.
is it a software program?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. We all set? Someone walked in on me. We all set?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So total curricula, co-curricular, we'll move on to summer school, 1430. Total summer school.
Yeah,
Are there
the
any
other summer
questions?
school you looked at was special ed. This is for other
Correct.
students.
Yep.
So these are kids that are not part of the special ed.
Correct.
Is summer, what is the determining factor of somebody going to summer school?
For the upper grades, that would be, their average and how many classes they've failed, or if they failed a class, or if they have a low average.
So summer school is not something that, like an exceptional kid could go do and get value out of? Or it's just not available to them?
Well, we have had some programs in the past during the summer where there have been some technology programs that students have taken during the summer as well.
That sounds good.
But it's, it's based on interest, student interest.
So how are the students addressed with that possibility? Are teachers saying, hey, here's something that could be done over the summer if we get enough interest? Or are we just hoping some kid shows up and asks for it?
No, we definitely bring it up to the students and send home notices to families and let them know.
Sent home notices to families. My kid must be hiding those.
Could I get a clarification on 1220 summer school special ed, all students K through 12? There's you're recommending 19,670. And then under the summer school 1430, it says summer school salaries 8,000. What is under the special ed, all students K-12, that 19,670, what does that encompass? What is that paying for?
So that's the cost, the salaries for the teachers and paras that we have hired for summer school,
Okay,
depending on the needs.
okay, it doesn't say salaries next to it where it does down
Oh,
here.
okay, at 110, yeah, 110 is salaries, sorry.
So now is that all, that's the salary also of this partner program?
Under the summer school special ed, the partner program's that separate line.
Okay, but I'm saying the all students K-12, under
Yeah.
1220, 110, all
Yeah.
students K-12,
Yeah.
$19,670. You tell me that's salary.
That's salaries for our teachers and paras, but not the partner teacher. The partner teacher's salary is included in that 31,000.
Okay. But then we dropped down to 143110. We got summer school salaries K through 8, another 8,000.
And that's just for the regular ed, that's just for the summer school for students that aren't special ed students. That would be the salaries for the teachers
Yeah,
that
but-
teach that.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding you, Debbie, but under the 122110 K through 12, you don't have any students in high school that are in the partner program, right?
It's not the partner program, it's any students that have IEPs for extended year learning.
Well,
And related services.
Maybe if you could provide us with, say, last year or 2 years worth of information on how many students attended classes.
Yep, you can do that.
And what grade level, so
Yeah.
it makes it a little clearer.
Yeah,
Along with the number of people involved with teaching or administrating
Yeah.
the different programs.
yeah, we can get you that, the students and the staff.
Any other questions?
Just take a note that in section 610, you've got the summer school enrichment again, which is just as much as the enrichment that we've seen on a couple other line items in a couple other places.
Yeah, that's our girls and boys of summer.
I don't know what that is, girls and boys of summer. What do they do?
Those are programs that the high school has for the girls and boys, and they're usually outside type of activities. The girls work on their writing skills and
Hiking, writing and hiking.
hiking and writing skills, and the boys do the same thing and work on teamwork strategies and collaboration and just the leadership components.
Because we do pay for the same thing in the CANC budget, for the same type of program, for the same high school kids. Everybody realizes that, right? If you're saying this is a thing where they go hiking and they read books and that kind of thing, that's exactly what they're doing over at the CANC. That's exactly where there's a whole nother line item on budget at the CANC for this identical thing. What you just described is being done at the CANC as well. So one program is fighting the other for a populace.
Maybe if you could look into that, Rob, and let us know for sure that there is a program that's competing against ours.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah, this is for our high school students.
This is high school students only. How many, and is it once a week, twice a week? And how many weeks is it?
Yeah, it's quite a few weeks, and I know the girls have had upwards of 20 kids depending on the summer, and the boys, a good amount of kids that do it for the boys too. The girls program has been going on for a little while longer than the boys, but they do have some good numbers.
The boys is new, right? I mean,
It's newer, yeah.
all right. Okay. If there are no other questions, we'll jump up to 2110. Support services for students.
I guess, why is it such a reduction this year?
So that's our ADAPT services. So what's currently happening this year is we have taken our health position and reduced that down to half-time and combined it with our ADAPT. The certification for the two are very close for those services. So we basically cut a position out of our budget going into this year. So we have a half-time health teacher and a half-time student assistance person, which is our ADAPT to combine one position.
Well, last year it was 2.
Last year, we had a full-time person for the adapt and a full-time health teacher, yes.
Great.
Maybe I'm confused, but didn't we share that adapt cost with other schools, with Thornton, Campton or something, Deb?
Well, they provide services to those other schools, but we had our own piece of that. That's how it originally started, Mike, but like the
Yeah.
last few years, we had a full-time student assistance person here.
Okay, so we weren't sharing it that
No,
after
no,
that. Okay.
no.
Great. Anything else? We'll move to 2113, social worker services.
So we saw that in the full budget that you guys just looked at and had questions about the social worker. These are just those other line items besides the salaries and benefits.
Yeah, so I'm looking at supplies and mailing and. All right, jump to 2120, the guidance. Anybody have any questions about guidance? Looking at 340 real quick. That testing fees, basically.
AP.
Yeah, that-
20
For the AP tests, there's fees that the students pay a portion of and the school district pays a portion of.
Do we have that many more students taking the test? Because it's,
I mean, it's all different programs.
Yeah.
Plato is probably the biggest increase. Edmentum, it's a program that our students are using. More students are using. Judy can probably explain that a little bit more, but I think it's for competency and credit recovery.
Correct. Credit recovery, that's one of the programs that is used during the summer and or during the year as well for students who are needing their credits. And so the Plato program is has an excellent program where it matches correlates with the curriculum for the high school.
Are these kind of like CLEP tests?
I'm sorry.
Are these like CLEP tests?
It's actually a curriculum type of program where they go through the steps and complete a whole curriculum for a year.
And then they get college credits?
Correct.
oh, that's what Plato is the college credit one?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not college credit. I'm sorry. High school credits. These are the ones where they have to, make up classes that they didn't do well in and they did not earn the credit and they have to have so many credits before they graduate. So this is for the high school.
So this
Running
is
college.
this is instead of summer school?
I'm sorry.
So Plato would be instead of summer school?
No, yeah, Plato would be used for summer school for some of the high school students, and then other programs would be used, based on what the student would need.
Okay, just curious. Any other questions? Going down, we have the 430 and the 519.
Yeah, 519, I've got a question on. This is
Yep.
to go to a convention that provides access to meeting people from New Hampshire only colleges? Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, they're typically in the past, and again,
Well, they are.
you can see the usage there, but we either have colleges come into the school or they would bring kids. I think UNH had a big college fair that we were bringing kids over to. Again, obviously this year nothing has happened there, but yeah, so they're usually college fairs within New Hampshire.
Jeez,
that
those
the high
colleges
school
better be
students are-
paying you guys to take your kids down there. I mean, that's a recruiting opportunity and we're paying for them to recruit.
Again, it's usually a number of colleges that are there, so
Yeah.
Is that
the high schools,
a,
they invite the high schools across the state to bring their students in.
is that a transportation cost? Because they don't,
Yeah, the main
they
part
don't-
is the main piece of that is transportation, yes.
they don't,
519 is transportation.
they don't bill you to come in the door at a college convention. So.
No, it's the transportation cost. 519 is transportation.
Okay.
So whatever the busing company charges us, and it depends on how many trips. I think we used to do more. We obviously aren't doing any right now, so, and they do try to get colleges to come in and have our own little mini fairs here for the kids.
Any other questions moving down with the 580 travel reimbursement would be obviously the guidance
The
department going place.
counselors, yeah.
All right, trying to find the total here, make sure I get in the right place. What is Kids to College? I'm just curious.
It's a program that they have at Plymouth State. They usually bring the 6th graders down there. And that's primarily transportation to get them down there, but they spend the day at Plymouth State, the 6th graders, and check out college.
I was just trying.
Is there anyone doing anything with any of the trade schools in the state? Or is that just, forbidden to talk about the trade schools? 'Cause I see nothing in here at all that lends itself to any of the trades, which are great careers for many people, and there's nothing in here on it.
Well, I
You've got
650.
colleges throughout the state that service that industry, and there's not, we're not talking about it at all. It's not even mentioned.
I can certainly look into that for you because, Sean Quinn is the one that would be scheduling those trips. I can find out the list of colleges and schools that he, looks into for the students.
Yeah, I pay an electrician more than I pay one of my attorneys right now, so it's not like these aren't good careers. And
Despite the number of young people going down, the CTE program has been growing pretty steadily over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
When it came through Ways and Means last year, looked at those numbers. So I'm not sure how much of the money flows through local schools for that, but there's a lot of money going directly from the state to the CTEs.
And that's why our fees to the CTE is a lot less, because the state chips in on that. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that we have about 10 minutes left on this Zoom session. It was set up for 2 hours.
Doesn't
wow, time flies when you're having fun.
j- 2 seconds on that, and then what is the college and career planning? High school, college.
It's a software program that they use in the guidance office with the students.
That they answer questions to figure out what they want to do.
I think it's kind of like an interest thing, and yeah, it matches up their interests with potential colleges.
Aren't those free online?
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is what they've been using.
Well, I don't see a previous. I was just
Yeah.
curious.
We used to use a program called Career Cruising, and I think they went out of business. So he put this in his budget, the guidance counselor.
Okay. All right. That gets us to 2021. You say we have 10 minutes that is scheduled, or is this where
Yeah, there's
we all?
10 minutes left in this webinar. It's set up as a webinar for 2 hours.
So does that mean that we're done in 10 minutes?
I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Well, let's try to get through page 19 and pick it up there on the next one.
Does everybody? Are you making a motion, Robert, to stop at 21:20 and?
Well, if it shuts off, sure.
Okay.
Just in case.
So if we're dead in 10 minutes on our webinar, all right, then we'll just keep moving forward on appraisal services 21-23. Any quick questions on that?
Just what are we appraising?
It's our testing, our NWEA map testing fees we pay each year for our
Okay,
kids to
I
get
honestly
tested or
thought we were-
appraised.
I honestly thought an accountant was appraising real
Oh,
assets.
no.
Jump into 2130. Nurse and health services. That obviously doesn't include salaries. That must be the next one.
Right.
2140. Actually, are we doing any COVID testing at the school or no?
No,
No, okay. Curious if that was going to be a fee. 2140 psychological services. Questions?
Did I hear right that the school is shut down tomorrow, that it's all remote learning again?
You did.
yes, 2 days, Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday. Psychological services, everybody's good? The psychological fees? It's contracted.
How many hours do we get with somebody on site for that kind of money?
144 days.
With somebody on site for
Yes.
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
Keep moving to 2150. Speech and audiology services. Questions there?
Why is there such an increase?
I was, you
Okay,
took
so
the word out of my mouth.
When you look at the total on the regular budget, it hasn't changed. How we've changed is we have a speech, or we have speech assistant and a speech pathologist up until this year. This year, our speech assistant is now our kindergarten teacher. So in order to cover those services, we contract with Boothby for the speech pathologist piece. And then the speech assistant was being paid through our payroll. So that was under salaries. Now we're contracting fully with Boothby to provide all those services. So again, if you go back to the budget page,
So then the question is, how much were you paying her before you now have to contract it out? What's the
so
delta?
yeah, if you go back to the budget, page 10, and you look at our speech services. So we're basically we paid last year almost 113,000, and that was a shortened year. And we're budgeted for 118,000 total with the speech assistant and the speech pathologist. So it's about the same. We just changed the way we're paying for it. Same services, different way of paying for it.
Okay, but
So the person that was doing the job took a different job within your organization.
Right, and the company that we were already contracting with for some of our speech services was able to fill that other piece that we needed.
Was it more cost effective prior to her changing?
Again, it's about the same.
About the same.
But it says here you've only got this contracted service 32 hours a week. Before you had somebody a full week, plus you had contracted services. So we're not providing the same amount of services for the same amount of money.
But that speech pathologist wasn't here for 32 hours.
I understand that, but you had a second person that was here full time.
Right,
So students were able to be serviced.
but we're servicing this covers is what we were servicing.
So you have, the assistant is here full-time?
The assistant was full-time. Actually, they were doing a little bit of teaching too, but
And is the new assistant full-time?
the new assistant, we don't have a new assistant because the assistant is now a full-time teacher. So,
That's what,
so
that's what he's saying.
so the services required, it's 32 hours.
but he's saying last year we got a full 40, didn't we? No?
Not quite, because they were also doing some teaching.
Do you have something to show us how many students were serviced in the last couple of years?
Yeah, we can get
we
the,
can-
get you
or
that. Yep.
What is your long-term plan? Do you plan on coming back with a assistant eventually, or?
We can find that out.
Well, you've
Right
got
now-
a 50, what you've got is a $54,000 line item increase here because you had a person shift off and now you got a contracted person. Were we paying that person that had the job that has changed jobs less than 54,000 is the question.
Yes.
And how much less for 40 hours versus 32 hours?
Well, you don't have the information, Rob, because you weren't here, but if anybody else that was on the budget committee before, you go into your old books and just look under the budget for salaries and you will see it. I don't have it in front of me right this minute. But that can be provided to you by the administration.
Yeah.
It just seems to me like we've lost the person and we're paying more for, again, contracted service.
Well,
We're
what I-
stroking the check. We're stroking the
agree with
check
you,
to get
but
somebody else
what
to
I'm
do our
saying,
work
Mike,
for us.
I agree with you, Mike, and what I'm also seeing is if she took a teaching position and we find that we have a lot less, need for less teachers, maybe that wasn't the greatest, choice of things to have done.
Yeah. Well, I'm just questioning it, I guess, Rob.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I'm having a hard time hearing you too, Rob, but I think I heard what you said.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I put a paper over it by accident. Sorry.
So we're requesting to know what it was what was it last year, the salary? Because we were also getting, out of that
Service.
salary, we were also getting some classes out of her also. So she was doing additional.
Services. How many students were we servicing, Tucker,
Right. Yep, that's good. Okay.
for the last couple of years?
And then the assistant, what was the assistant's salary last year versus the $54,000 delta in this requested budget?
That's what I was getting at. Good. All right. Okay, jumping forward.
Also, what are we paying her in this new role that she's in? And I don't even know if it's a she, could be a he, so
What do we what?
that mistake.
What was
What
that
did you say,
question?
Robert?
Sorry.
He wanted to know the salary of I guess that's the kindergarten teacher. This person took the kindergarten job.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Correct.
That's based on the teacher salary schedule.
Okay.
So the question is, what did the person make last year as the assistant? Versus, and what will that person be making as the new kindergarten teacher? So we can compare to the delta of the 54,000 budget change.
All right, cool. If there's nothing else, we'll jump to 2159.
Well, there's just one more add-on question to that. Did anybody look to hire a new assistant rather than contract a new assistant?
We didn't, you mean for the service that we're providing instead of that? We did ask an assistant's speech and language has certain certifications as well. And no, we went with the contracted service provider that we already have.
So
Because she's
nobody
already
nobody
familiar with
posted the
students.
position. So you eliminated the position from your organization. Correct?
Yeah, yes, you could say that, yeah.
Okay.
All right, 2159, summer school and speech and audiology.
Is that also through contracted services?
Yes.
Yes.
A little bit of both. I mean, in the past, it's been both.
Okay, but we've eliminated that position,
Well,
so,
in the past, it was speech assistant and booth fee.
okay, for this current budget, Is that contracted services?
That would, yes, that's primarily, yes, that's contracted services, the 2,900.
So can we get a copy of that contract so we know what they're supposed to supply for that money?
Were they contracted the summer before?
Yeah, it's always been a combination of the speech assistant and Boothby.
Now it's totally contract, okay? Jump to 2162, physical therapy services. Like a reduction down to 6,000.
I assume this just fluctuates based on the student need.
Correct.
Interesting, you dropped it to 6 when there was, looks like about a 12 usually.
So does that means somebody,
Probably graduated or moved away.
Yeah, the needs have changed.
They have, okay.
I mean, again, it's the student needs. So that's what the needs were.
Good, okay. 2163, occupational therapy services. Yes,
Yeah, what's ESMSHS? Middle school, high school, and elementary?
Correct.
Yeah.
And preschool.
okay. And then this summer therapy. 2163, 335. Okay, if there's no questions, we'll go to 2210 and 2213, the improvement of instruction and instructional staff training. Are there any questions on that?
There was the last line item on the earlier page for mentor program stipends.
Yes. That's the new teachers coming into the district. They're
Oh, so
assigned,
that's to help teachers, not students, right?
correct.
Yeah.
And if there are no questions, move forward. 2222 library services. Are there any questions there?
Well, that's line 640. That's the one that the woman during the thing that we listened into didn't have any number for yet. She said she still wanted to go through what she did have already.
Yeah, this is just what she put in for the budget for now.
Uh, 22, 23, you have a question? No? 22, 23, audio visual services. Go to 22, 24, educational television. Okay, 23, 21, superintendent's office. Questions for that?
Yeah, I'd like to get a breakdown of what section 340 is really purchasing. What type of consultants are they using? What's the questions on the financial packages? Let's have details on what that 18,000 is for.
Okay. Anything else?
One thing to bring up, we're looking at having 286 students, basically one classroom each of each grade? How much extra space does that provide in the buildings? We should be considering that when it, in terms of, office space for, if we're gonna consider looking at possibly splitting the whole thing, between SAUs, then we should also look at saving rent on that space that's used if we have any available space in the buildings that we already have. So just you've got a $14 or $11,400 rent fee that you can consider, what other possibilities there may be there.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm actually looking at advertising. What are we advertising district-wide, and $5,000?
8,000.
Well, yeah, it actually used to be a lot higher than that. I could pull back prior years. We've been using Indeed to advertise for positions, which doesn't cost us anything. We do advertise in the newspaper. We advertise through Ed Jobs, New Hampshire. So it's primarily advertising for staffing. Depending on the year, it fluctuates. But again, we used to pay a lot more than even what we have in the budget for 8,000. We've been trying to cut that down, but it's just the last couple of years that we switched over to a lot of the free advertising or free employment ads through Indeed. But we still do pay for some papers too.
So let's get a look at what was actually expended this year from the 20, for the current year's budget, because you're showing for the last couple of years only.
Yeah, it's definitely gone down.
2,300, but asking for 8. Maybe we only need to put in for 3 there.
Yeah, you're anticipating needing a lot of job listings? I mean, that's because
Well, it really depends. This year we've had quite a few. But again, we've been trying to cut that number down. So this is just our best guess at the budget as we're watching that number come down each year. But I'm trying to see in that we did give you the budget to actual to date, so we can see what we've spent so far in that account.
Yeah.
We might have a little bit of room there, but
Any other questions? Anybody else?
I have one, I guess. It's my understanding that we were approached by another school to maybe join forces with the SAU. The school board didn't even consider it and voted it down in one meeting without even looking at it. Is that correct? And why wouldn't we have looked at it with our issues we're having now?
We certainly should be.
I guess the school board voted it down.
It was the distance. The main part was the distance of where that particular district was.
Well, I don't think it matters because we had an SAU over in Woodsville at the time. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know a lot about it, but it's something we need to look into. And the opportunity came to us and literally went out the door. I think this should have been a budgetary issue and it should have come in front of us. I may be wrong, but it's definitely budgetary.
Yeah, definitely.
Have we ever looked at other small independent SAUs that we would be willing to combine with? Has that ever been anything we've considered other than someone coming to us?
It hasn't been in the past. It definitely has been. And at one time, the school did share the superintendent and administrative services. So it's not beyond the possibility at all. It's just a matter of finding the right fit and the right needs, in a paired situation.
Well, last time you had the district was involved with a larger SAU. It was before my. The understanding that I have is that the community was concerned that they weren't receiving the amount of services that they were they didn't feel as though they were receiving the services that they were paying the SAU for.
That may have
So,
been true at that time, but that doesn't make it true.
Yeah, that's pretty much what was happening. I understand, but
okay.
it should be looked into all the time. I don't understand why it hasn't, but yes, it didn't work before because we were paying too much and not getting enough representation. I understand that. But today's times have changed. With just what we're doing now is incredible and could work.
Did we as a board vote on that, or was it just brought to us? I don't recall a vote on that.
I don't know, Joe. I was told it was voted on and it was put to bed. I don't know why the board wouldn't even consider it, but then I don't know.
Yeah, I don't recall a vote. We could have, but I just don't recall the vote on it. I do remember it being brought up, but
You know, we talk about, we used to share a superintendent, but that was 40 years ago, give or take. Didn't have internet service, didn't have computers. Times have changed. It's time to look at things again.
I know at one time we even mentioned a different form, maybe not a superintendent, but maybe there's other forms of leadership. I'm not sure. And Tucker would probably know more than I do, but though I know you have to have a superintendent, but there are other ways to do business.
Well, I mean, I know you have to have a superintendent, you have to have all of it in place. I mean, like I said, you can be associated with another SAU. And I'm always like, is there an SAU that would come with us?
We
So
just had one knocking at our door.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, you know, do we join them or do they join us? I think that's something we have to look at. You look at a small school like us that it would benefit from adding to the SAU.
A lot of times those opportunities come up because at one of the schools, they lose their superintendent. So it's not a matter of, you know, trying to pick one over another or something like that. It's usually because there's a loss of staff and an inability to be able to backfill a position and stuff. So a lot of times it benefits, you know, both communities greatly, both in cost sharing and in, you know, shared expertise.
Is this,
it can benefit the staff too in you know, higher salaries too, because it doesn't mean they're doing, you know, two schools for the same price. It creates a financial opportunity for those folks too. You know, it might not
is this something we set up to,
50%, but it might cut it by 30% or something.
is this something that we set off as a group to check into, or how do we feel? I mean, we all seem to have this interest in it. My question is, where do we go from here?
Well, right now we're just putting together all the preliminary thoughts we have that we want to address in different ways, and then take that list and then prioritize it and address it accordingly.
And I agree. It seems this has been brought up a couple times tonight, so I'm just curious if we, you know, do you set a committee to go look at that?
After we get through everything, get it all listed to, you know, figure out where we want to spend the most focus time.
Right.
Because in the end, it may or may not be the priority. We might find a totally different area.
Right. All right, is there any more discussion, or it's put down as a discussion point for further?
Yeah.
You know, that something we have to see if it's an avenue we want to really look hard into or not. Next area will be 2410, Office of the Principal. Questions for that budget, for that portion of the budget?
I think we can look at some things there also. Given our administrative costs, period, superintendent and principal's office and so forth, maybe this economy of scales, some savings there. We're spending we're spending 1/8 of all of the money we're spending just to administer, run a program that's a relatively small program nowadays. It's a small school. So I don't know whether you absolutely have to have a high school principal, a middle school principal, a principal of this and that and the other, or whether you could have one principal. I don't know. I don't know. Our numbers are getting small enough so that perhaps we can reconfigure ourselves differently, including the supervisory unit level. And there are academies. I don't know if we're a candidate to be an academy or other forms of education out there. I don't know. It's almost like we need a study whether the budget committee wants to take the time or can, or whether a group of community citizens, or whether we put a warrant article, suggest a warrant article for the school district meeting to form a committee or to instruct administration to look into something. I don't know, but I think it's time we look into it because we're awful top heavy.
Judith, if
Yeah,
we,
when you consider, I've got a niece that goes to a high school with 6,000 students and they have one principal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we need 2 or 3 of them. I don't know that we do. I don't know if there's any law that says you have to have a separate one for the high school as for the middle school, as for the small grades. I don't know.
With that said, isn't the elementary school principal considered the assistant principal?
Correct.
And with 6,000 students, wouldn't there's probably 3 assistant principals?
Yes.
I know
Oh, yeah,
when I went,
that could be, but I'm sure it's certainly more cost effective than what we're dealing with.
yeah, okay, I know,
I'm looking at just the telephone line item and wondering, I'd like a breakdown of that. What is costing $8,000 for the phone lines at the school? Is this just the telephone service? Is it the handsets? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, that's the actual phone service, but we actually put in a new phone system this year. That's why there's a drop in the principal's office budget, because that's where we put the 24,000, and it's cloud-based. So we are in the process of getting rid of all of our other
So
phone.
you're using First Light to deliver your internet services, and on top of those internet services, you're paying another $8,500?
cell phones and stuff like that too, right?
That's our actual phone lines. Consolidated communications, our long distance service,
Why are
we
you
have faxes, fax lines, but again, a lot of that's going away because we're now using a cloud-based service. So our phone, those copper lines are going away.
Right, I would assume that you're switching over to a cloud-based service with First Light and eliminating all of this.
Yeah, it's
So
with
you
another
want to look
company.
into that line item itself, the $8,500 on line item 531,
Yeah,
and see what the story would be with that.
Judith, did I see that you're 80%, or that somebody in senior in leadership is at 80% rather than 100% time?
Yeah. On Monday through Thursday. Yeah.
How does that work for you?
It works well. No,
Okay.
It's good.
You don't feel like you have to work 120% anyway, huh?
Well, yeah, you do.
all right, so any other questions on the office of the principal? We'll go to 2620, the custodial part of the budget. Questions for that?
Yes, can we get a breakdown on 430? I know you don't have it right now, but just as soon as you could, Deb.
Yep.
Um, 890,
Yes, breakdown on that also.
thank you.
And
Because that, didn't it seem like that's going to heck anyways? I'm sorry, but that last meeting I went to, I figured it was gone, some of that. I'm still confused about all that, but that's because I'm coming in late, so.
and 737-739, like to know what a salt spreader, what's that? And what the cost is.
All right, so we have some breakdowns for that.
Yeah.
All right. Up to 26. Oh, that sounds like I'm breaking. 30 ground.
Yep, breakdown on 430.
Yep.
What was that again, about 430, Mike?
A breakdown on it,
On the 80,000?
on the 33,000, yes, a breakdown.
Yeah, 23 of that is the fields maintenance, but I'll get the exact figures.
Yeah.
Is that every other year?
Well, they were gonna do it this year, but they took it out of the budget, so
So
I
every
think they're
other
trying to
year?
get to a point that it might be every other year because they just redid the fields 2 years ago. It was originally in the budget for this year, but then they removed that, so they did not do it this year.
The reason the budget committee suggested it got removed because the prior year, it was told that we were gonna do it biannually, and then they tried to put it in annually.
Got it.
That's why the budget committee recommended it not be put in for last year.
Okay. That's what I was noticing was it was every other, okay,
When it just started 2 years ago.
all right. I got you. I'm hearing it. Awesome. All right, so we'll have a breakdown of that. Next will be 2640, care and upkeep of equipment. Looks like that's just real quick. 2650, vehicle operation and maintenance. Questions?
Breakdown on 430.
430.
What's insurance for 250 bucks?
Truck? Is that the truck, Deb?
What was the question? Sorry.
You got a
Insurance,
line item for insurance at line 521, and it says insurance, 250 bucks.
Yeah, it was mainly on the pickup truck. We get,
Really? Wow, that's good insurance. What company?
we're in a pooled group with Primex and they give us a bill that includes our insurance on all of our vehicles. So I just break it out.
Nice. I would like insurance like that.
Yeah. 20, yeah, you just added a new driver. I'm sure you would.
Oh, yeah, I did that today.
2660, security.
You know how much it cost?
2660, 390, security services. Any questions?
Well, didn't we have that in all the other security stuff earlier? Is that part of it?
No,
This is for the exterior stuff. Is that what I'm assuming?
yeah.
This is for the exterior cameras. Is what, 3 of them? 4 of them?
There's quite a few.
Okay. Transportation and repairs,
So
This
this
was-
section, so when we report to the state, we have to, the categories are regular transportation 2721, special ed transportation 2722, and vocational transportation 2723. Actually, athletics 2724 and field trips 2725. Our current fleet of vehicles includes, we have one bus and one van. We just sold a bus last year. The biggest piece of our transportation is our contracted service with Durham Bus Services, and they've taken over all of our routes. Our home to school routes, which is, and our after school routes. So that's at 106,000. And then also our programs of our transporting our kids going north to CTE and the charter school, that's 52,000. So we have saved money by contracting all that out. We had multiple bus drivers, we had a fleet of vehicles, we had expenses with that upkeep. So I tried to break out all the pieces on the lines, but if you go to the big budget sheet, you'll see the savings from year to year, from actually contracting that out. We've been talking about that for a number of years.
So with the COVID scenario and you have the number of days of not using the services,
Yeah,
I would assume that you still have to pay for the full services of the drivers and that kind of thing to keep them on staff and available. Are you getting any kind of reduction from them for, maybe less in fuel costs or something?
Yeah,
Type of kickback?
and we'll be negotiating with them, especially because we're not driving north right now.
Yeah.
We don't really have that piece of the contract. Our regular busing, we're using, I think we have the same amount of routes that we originally had budgeted for. A lot of schools have seen those routes like double because you can't put as many kids on the bus. We just don't have as many kids taking the bus right now. But the capacity of the buses right now with COVID is like half, at least half. But we've been kind of lucky there that we didn't have to add more routes just because a number of our kids aren't taking the buses right now.
So where are we with this, with the contract with the North Country programs, Deb? Are we
They haven't been
paying?
billing us for those.
Okay, and the daily must be down
Daily
because
is the
we
daily,
don't do after school, right? Hasn't
yeah, there's
been
no
any,
after school right now.
so has that been
We're just
reduced?
getting billed for our regular home to school right now.
all right. It sounds like that took us down through I guess auto insurance, vehicle supplies,
Yeah, I just combine all those together.
athletic transportation.
Athletic transportation, we get billed per event.
Right. And then field trips, that's all included in that. So
Yeah,
is that right? Is that what I'm looking at?
correct.
So is it the same with the athletic transportation? You're just not being billed because it's not being used?
Yeah, they bill us for, we have been using it, but not as much. So
Right.
they just bill us. Those are actually with the home to school, it's an annual contract.
Mhm.
But they give us rates for the athletics, but they only charge us those rates when we actually do a trip.
Right.
Which should be the same for field
Field
trips.
trips too, right?
Which I get us coming to the last page. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Of, I guess, yeah, total field trips, total. Are there any questions on the last travel to cooking demos?
Yeah, I got a question. This Monshire Museum, where is this thing?
Hanover, I think.
Is that where it is? I've heard about it so many times, but I've never been there. I want to go check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, so I guess, are there any other questions or concerns that we've gotten through this line item with our concerns? Jerry, I hope you've gotten all the information of requests, probably between you and Judy. I'm not sure.
I've got a question, Tucker, for
Yeah.
administration on trust funds. Last year sometime, the school board voted to have a committee and look into CIP program.
Mhm.
Did they ever do any work on that to eliminate the trust funds?
That's something that would have to be a warrant article. So that will be something the school board will talk about.
Okay,
We-
but they had discussion
That
last year about it, and there was a vote taken that they were gonna do it. But you're saying that now it has to go to a warrant article? They talked about studying it and having a group trying to figure out, the logistics of it and everything else. So
Right.
did they just not do anything?
No, they've started a little bit. In fact, one of the board members did ask me a couple meetings ago and said, we need to start working on that.
Well, I thought the intent was to have it ready for this budget season, so we wouldn't be just funding the trust fund.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea
Well,
behind it. So
they
basically
haven't gotten
no
that
work
far.
got done then. So
They
nothing
haven't
got
gotten
done.
that far.
Yeah.
Again, that has previous stuff, Mike, so I'm not really sure where you were. So that was something that you guys were going to pay for out of a trust fund?
Well, there's no paying.
It's just another funding mechanism. It's a trust fund versus a capital improvement.
Oh, I got-
The way it is now, Tucker, if you look in your book, you got trust funds is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trust funds.
Yeah, I saw that.
And-
Yep.
And every year they appropriate some money to those trust funds. Well, it was brought up that they thought it would be better to have a CIP plan.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And that way there's things that are, identified, say, I don't know, let's say a new basketball hoop, let's say, or something, I don't know, some new
Heating
piece of
system.
equipment. So now you're putting money away every year towards that. It's some planning that doesn't happen. It's like the
Right.
master plan. It just, and what they do now is they want some money for a special project. They have a hearing and they take money out of whatever trust fund it is. There's just no planning.
Yeah. It's a really good tool. You can kind of project ahead when you might need another bus, another truck, the roof, the furnace, the whatever. Most places have a capital improvement program. It's projections, and you can kind of put into a trust fund, if you still want to have trust funds, the appropriate amount. That's how towns might pay for a fire truck or a dump truck or something. It's planning. It's anticipating what your needs are going to be and putting away the right amount of money rather than just saying, okay, every year we're going to put 25,000 in there. And then somebody has an idea and takes out, drains it and buys something. It's a good planning tool, certainly. And we did talk about it, and we did kind of want it so that we can budget and plan better.
Yeah, the school board has talked about it. They just haven't gotten there. And actually years ago, because I was going through the files, this district did have capital improvement funds. It's late 90s, and then they
Had 'em
put
back
through some warrant articles and said, let's close those funds and let's establish trust funds. So again, it's time to look at that again.
Yep.
Just way of funding future needs.
One thing I just noticed, not on the last page, but on page 27, second item from the bottom, is $1,000 for going to Jean's Playhouse. Isn't Jean's Playhouse closed?
Yeah, I mean, none of those field trips are happening right now.
Yeah, but I mean, they're like closed, like bankrupt closed.
No.
No?
No.
they get a big bunch of dollars all of a sudden? Yes.
They're still in operation. Not as much right now during COVID, but they're still in operation.
Yeah, it's my understanding that that they were able to reduce a substantial amount of debt and become more financially solid with some benevolent donations or whatever you want to call it. So I don't think they're as financially troubled as years ago. But I don't think they haven't been having many plays or programs. I haven't
No, it has.
ushered. I usually usher every performance, and I haven't had any requests to come usher or anything. So nothing's going on there. Not much is going on there now. Just a few things.
Well, us being 2.5 hours into this, is there anything else that we feel we need to bring before this meeting tonight, or any other information we want to put forward, or information that we'd like to request?
I have a question on process. If we do want to, look at staff numbers and total cost of the payroll and payroll associated costs. Is that something, where we'd be going line item by line item, teacher by teacher, or is that something where we'd say, look, if the total number of teachers is reduced to 57, or I guess that's not the word, is 30, well, let's say it's 6.5 less staff than we have now. Is that something we would ask the administration, what would that look like? So, how is that an exercise that's ever been done before? So,
I think to address that, what we would need to know is the teachers and their positions and their salaries, and then look at the student body and do a comparison, and then ask the administration, which we could talk to Debbie right here. What is everybody thinking when you have, for example, 17 students in this grade and you have 2 teachers? What is the reason for 2 teachers? What is the plan? How many students are there in the follow-on year? These kind of things, and decide whether or not to bring it forward in the budget this year.
Well, the original budget book has all the teachers listed.
Yep.
And including, I guess, 1 that's not here anymore and 3 that are here that weren't here last year. And what looks like everybody got the same salary increase regardless of, and I take it that includes their steps too, or?
Yeah, that's all negotiated, but yes, that's how they do it. Yeah.
We all decided that regardless of our current salary, we'll up everybody by $2,300 a year for a full-time person or something like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do with how good a job they're doing, right? Just that's the way it is, right?
No. Well,
isn't that great?
I can't criticize. I don't mean to. They probably all are worth more than that, but I don't know if we can afford all of them. Or I'm not sure. Is a budget committee supposed to say, well, that person's only, signed up, has a class with 5 students, and he does sports and what if we're talking about doing that? Do we want the budget committee want to interfere, or
Well, now when it comes down to an individual person,
Yeah, I think we gotta be
total
careful.
number of staffing and what's being done with them, yeah.
I would think, Jerry, that we would say to the administration, we feel that the school could run 6.5 people less,
Yes.
and that they should come back with why it shouldn't, or what it would look like at 6.5 people less. I think that would be a recommendation we should make, and that they should come back at us with their thoughts, or if they can do it, or we shouldn't get into the nitty gritty of them any more than you guys need to cut 35% of this or something like that. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
And what I've been involved in the past, that's how we've done it is, you need to get rid of, unfortunately, 6 people. And I have been involved in the part where we went down to department and said, you got to get rid of 1 English teacher, but that was because I was in the administration part. And that's where we had to make those decisions. So they came to us and said, get rid of 6, and we had to figure it out.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like we have pretty good high skill in the administrative side of the school district. So I would think they would do a much better job at that than we would. But
And I think we need to be careful. We can't be involved in the individuals or their worth or what their contribution or their performance or whatever. We're not the appropriate body to judge their work performance. But we certainly have every right to say that we have too many teachers for the number of classes and students, and we suggest that 6.5, if that's the number, we could provide an adequate education with 6.5 people less.
I mean, it's a reality that we have close to 20% fewer students.
Yes.
And close to the same number of teachers. So, and maybe that's what the district wanted, and maybe still wants. But I think it should be looked at pretty hard. So
everybody should also be aware that in that package we received, there is the master schedule for 2020, 2021. It's only the high school for the student ratio to teacher. Did everybody get that in their packet?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's page 4, or at least at a 4. I didn't know if we could get one for the elementary and middle school also, because everybody's talking. I don't know where you guys are getting your numbers to justify that we need to lose 6.5 teachers.
Well, one of the charts we got had the number of students and then the number of staff that we've had each year over the last 10 years. So
right, that's over the whole K through 12, but they provided us with the master schedule for the high school, which shows you the teacher and how many students they have per class, per period. I wonder if we can get something like that on the elementary and the middle. And it may be heavier down that end. I don't know. But, I think we need to, before we start throwing this out there, we need to do a little more work on it. That's all.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, absolutely, Mike.
Yeah, I think Jerry was just asking for the procedures, and that, we're saying, we have to do some more work and come to the reason for our decision to say whether it's 3 teachers, 6.5. I just, the number that was thrown, and let them come back with how they would do it or not. But I think we have to do a little bit more research. I think that, you're looking at the ratios right now, and it's bearing there. I don't know, maybe we offer so many classes that we can't break it down. I think those are the things we have to look at next.
Well, yes, that's part of it too. The offering. Remember, we asked for what the state minimum mandate, what you have to have. We need to look at that. Are we way, way, way over what the state says we have to have, or are we under? Where are we with that? And I've been a broken record at certain times, that I sometimes don't understand why juniors and seniors can't be in the same class, or there may be some economies there that a biology or any class, maybe we need to. I know it's a scheduling nightmare, maybe, And some,
It did happen, at least for some of the classes in high school.
but some of the classes, maybe we could offer every other year, it would be tough to make sure the students, especially if there's something extra or an elective, maybe we don't offer them as often. And so the enrollment in the class is higher, and maybe you can eliminate a position, if you combine certainly art and music and a lot of programs. You might be able to have various classes in the same classroom and not lose much in the educational value of it.
Wasn't that class that you and I went and spoke to a couple of years ago? Isn't that offered only once every other year? I'm not sure, but government class.
Yeah, that was the government class. I don't know. If
Anyway.
that's in every other year. We went to speak before them. There may be things like that you can do to cut back. I don't know, until we look at it. And I think we as a committee have to do more homework before we come up with 3, 6, or any number. We need to be sure. We need to be sure that it will be, we can justify it, and it will not hamper, the educational opportunity that the students can enjoy. We can't come up with ideas that don't work just to save money.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure we have a staff here that wants to build the best school they can with the resources we choose to give them.
And and I was just thinking, some committees can have subcommittees. I don't know if we have so much to do that we're going to need to break ourselves down into little subsets under the majority. It would have to be 2 or 3. But do we want to go off and work on something? Maybe Mike and John look at the maintenance budget, or the heating system, or and 2 of us look at the class sizes, or maybe we can get a lot done if we break down into subgroups that meet in between our weekly meetings. Maybe.
Well, I was thinking the same thing. So, and I mean, I'd be interested in the payroll and associated expenses, because we have a lot of indirect overhead that's directly the retirement stuff and all that drives a lot of that together. So, maybe with at least one person who has experience on the committee. There's 3 of you, I think, have long history with the committee. 3 of us are kind of new, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe I can help Jerry with that. And if Mike has a lot of the maintenance and the facilities, he knows. And Joe, and I think the school board member can also be on a subcommittee. Maybe Mike and Joe can really look at the heating system and the floors and the roof and the other things. And there's warrant articles coming up. Maybe those 2 want to get together and look at that, or John help out. I don't know, but it might be a way to get a lot of this stuff done in between meetings and come back to the full group with ideas.
Well, I also think that I think the administration has a lot of that information we just requested, right?
Right.
Didn't we request a lot of information that's going to help? I mean, the sooner we get that, the better we can get prepared for it. That's the difficult part. Like, I didn't get to look over all this information as much as I wanted to. It was the holidays, so I totally get it. But that information that we've just requested, I know a lot of that will really help me to look at the salaries and the students and all that. So for instance, if we're looking at the elementary classes and all the different class sizes. So we have to get that information And maybe part of it is going into subcommittees to get it and find out where to find it too. So. Anybody have anything else we want to, I mean, we've asked for a lot of information. Jerry, do you feel comfortable with all the stuff that we've asked? And Judith, I think it's you who's going to be gathering half that stuff.
Yep,
Feel
that's
comfortable
okay.
with it?
Yep.
Trying to figure that all out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Try. Hey, do we want to approve the minutes from the last meeting? I have a
Oh,
question.
God, that's one of the things I'm so bad at. Keep me organized on that.
Oh,
procedural stuff.
actually, we have to redo the whole meeting because we forgot to. So we have to do a big do-over.
Big do-over. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is there anybody who wants to approve the minutes from last meeting, by the way?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll second it.
Good, those are, the last week's minutes are approved.
We still gotta vote.
Yeah,
Aye.
sorry, vote. Geez, I'm bad. I've been here 2.5 hours. We all have.
3 hours.
Are we there? Are we there? Yeah, we are.
Yes.
As the kids are going around me, going to bed, like right next to me almost. So I'm kind of distracted. Yeah, so is there a vote? Everybody approve or anybody want to approve
Aye.
the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, Johnny.
Are there
John,
any nays?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Are there any nays? Sounds like the ayes have it. They've been approved.
Okay.
Ooh.
Tucker, could we get a copy of those minutes? We have not received a copy yet.
You didn't get the minutes from me?
No, I don't have them.
I emailed them to you.
I may not have been on
Yeah,
that.
they were on the
Yeah.
bottom.
They weren't attached in ours. I looked back when I had, I had sent it to somebody requesting it, and then you said it was attached, and I went back to look and I didn't have any attachment.
All right, I can forward that too if you'd like.
Okay, thanks.
It'll just be that same email that Jerry sent out.
That's okay. As long as it's attached.
And if
And
you
I will
don't
say,
get,
Jerry, you did a great job.
yes.
yeah, it was awesome.
I don't know how you answered all the questions, but I pulled them out. And you had more stuff than I had on there anyway. Deb, did you just get it? Or either of you? I just re-forwarded it.
Some of us timed out.
Nope, I'm here.
I'm here.
I think we're all here.
Yeah, I don't see them yet, Jerry, but
I'm here.
I wonder if there's a problem. for
maybe
this.
you're going into our spam. I'm checking my spam, but I don't see it.
All right, at this time, is there anything else anybody would like to bring before the meeting?
We're back on a regular schedule next week.
Yep, regular schedule. Oh, thank you all for that. We had a wonderful 50th birthday. She's still denying it, but it was wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, great.
Thank you for allowing me to pull that off.
I didn't realize it was something that was that important. I thought it was something like,
You know,
less
No,
than-
we didn't want to get him into trouble. No.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
well, thank the school for all the notification and making sure we follow the rules. Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Yeah, that was great. So if there's anything else, is there any inclination to end this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Those who want to adjourn the meeting,
Aye.
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 any opposed? All right, the meeting is adjourned. We'll see you all next week, not the same bat time, on Tuesday night instead of Wednesday. All right.